Welcome everyone to our ITBM Informal Value Talk delivered by ServiceNow Advisory Team and by many other ServiceNow experts. This is 20 minutes talk with IT business management. We love challenges and we hope that you like it too. Today is episode number 10 and we have the pleasure to have amongst us Fabio Cresta, also one of my team members in the ITBM Advisory Solution Consultant team in EMEA. And he has an amazing background and experience in the PPM and agile space and also digital transformation. The topic prepared for today is investment funding. Extremely important to understand that the value that can bring to organizations and why it matters more than ever, a key aspect, especially during the pandemic and after the pandemic. This presentation may contain forward-looking statements that reflect the current beliefs of ServiceNow and are based on the current information available. These forward-looking statements should not be relied upon making purchasing decisions. Great, so we're saying all of that. Thank you very much, Fabio, for taking the challenge of delivering value within 20 minutes. And why don't you give us a quick introduction about yourself, and then the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Aurora, for introducing me. Hello, everyone. I'm Fabio Cresta. I am a solution consultant specializing on ITBM in ServiceNow. I joined ServiceNow last July in 2020. But I worked the last 15, 16 years on the PPM space in another company, and I'm based in Milan, Italy. And today I will talk about how we manage, we help companies manage their budgeting and their investment funding. So first of all, I want to introduce what the definition that we usually use to explain to the customer how we manage the budget. First of all, we usually split the main budget in two main areas. One area is called non-discretionary costs, which basically are the costs that are required just to keep the lights on. So for instance, software licensing, application maintenance, infrastructure costs, security costs. Okay, these are costs that you have to spend, but does not provide any value to the business. It just keeps the light on. Okay, you cannot remove them, otherwise everything fall down, but it's not a value-added cost. On the other side, we have the discretionary cost. Okay, this is the part of the budget that is required if you want to support new business or new cost reduction initiative. You need to be compliant with law or create new products or a new application. And these are the costs that does provide added value to the business. Usually, in the market, we have a split between 70-30 or 80-20, being the higher part non-discretionary cost and the lower part by discretionary cost. How the budget are managed and where are managed. So basically, this picture represents what is covered in the ITBM solution from ServiceNow. So we can manage strategies, defining objective, goals, strategies, and metrics. We can manage alignments of portfolios to define the what-if analysis and define what to move on and what to stop and so forth. So application, solution. And then we have the execution layer that let us manage project in different way, waterfall, agile, hybrid, or any other type. And all the things are, or the request came from the intake part. So we manage demand, we manage ideas. So having said that, the discretionary budget, so that the part that is providing value to the business, usually is managed at higher level. So it's linked to strategies, to objectives, to goals. Usually is what in the market is called defining the master plan for the next 1, 2, or 3 years. So given the budget, we get the demands, the initiative that we want to provide to provide value to the business, and then we need to understand which initiative we can do given the discretionary budget that we have. Of course, the budget must be refined in case something changes. So the strategies change, the goals change, the pandemic that has raised last year was one of the main reasons why many companies have to change their strategies, their priorities, and so forth. On the other side, the non-discretionary budget usually is managed at a lower level. What happens at the beginning of the year, the different BUs or the different part of the organization says how much they need to spend to keep the lights on. So it's usually identified at the beginning of the years and is a, let's say, top-down methodology, because they know, and each part of the company knows how much they have to spend to keep the light on. Okay. Why need the continuous planning? Continuous planning is adapting what the company is doing given external needs of change. Okay, so for instance, digital transformation, it's a top priority for CIO, and it was pre and post COVID-19. But given some surveys, in this case is surveys taken by KPMG, the pandemic has accelerated the digital transformation. So plan that should have been completed for the digital transformation maybe in 3 or 5 years, now has been planned to complete in 2 years. Okay, the budget will increase because every company needs to increase operational efficiency, customer engagement. They have to enable workforce, that more workforce right now is working remotely. So they need to have all the digitalization to let to hire new people, to let them work remotely and so forth. So this was a huge change, and of course even the strategy and budget management has to follow the changes. Okay, so how the budget are managed? Okay, first of all, usually every company has an overall budget, and they usually divide the budget, split the budget in non-discretionary budget, as already told. And this discretionary budget can be split in different ways. One of the most common way is by BU. So each BU knows which project, which product, which service, which application they have, and they request. And if you see, we have the bi-directional arrows here, because the request can come from top down or can be done in bottom up. So maybe the non-discretionary budget is split by BUs in a certain percentage, so top down. But then we ask for budget for the different entities, project, product, application that need to be continuing. On the other side, we have the discretionary budget. Once again, it can be split in any way, but one of the most common is by BUs. And then these BUs usually split them by portfolios. So maybe one or more portfolios, because one BU may have a different line of business. So they can have a portfolio for each line of business. And once again, the entities, the low-level entities, project, product, or service, application, can request budget from the portfolios and from the BUs. Okay. This is the schema where on how most of the company works on the budget. How we as ServiceNow can help manage that budget management. Okay. If you start, usually budget is, especially if we talk about IT, is tied to project and demands only. Okay, we funding demands and projects. But right now, many companies are transitioning to agile, and transition to agile doesn't mean that we just have some teams working with the sticky notes, but means that it's an organizational change with even the financial management needs to be changed, because we are not funding project or demand anymore, but we are going to fund digital products or teams or epics or any other entity that is typical for the agile. If we talk about project non-IT, but business projects, okay? So the business can fund products, or can fund new initiatives or new portfolios of products, okay? The budget could be split not only by BU, as we reported before as an example, but we can split the budget, for instance, by strategies or by capabilities or by portfolio, or even a mix of them, okay? So part of the budget by BU, part of the budget by strategies, and so forth. And finally, each entity, the entity could be a project, could be an initiative, it could be a product, it could be an application, could be even co-funded, meaning that they receive budget from different BUs or different portfolios or different strategies. Okay. So to support all these capabilities, we have the investment object in ServiceNow. The investment object means that anything that we have in ServiceNow can become a funding entity or a funding requester entity. Okay, so we can have epics, we can have agile release train, we can have products, but we will see even some more details what we can define in the system. Investment funding let us manage the funding in two ways, top down and bottom up, or in a mix of them. So top down meaning that, for instance, we have the discretionary budget, we split the budget by use or by portfolio or by strategies, and then from the lower level, someone requests a part of that budget to fund a project or application or services or whatever it is. And this is a continual rolling, it's a rolling process. So we can define the budget for one period, it could be one quarter or 1 year. And then after 3 months, we can revise the budget, increase it or decreasing it, request the budget for the next period and so forth. So we can adjust the budget given the market or the external factor that can influence how we need to spend our money. So as an example, we see in the system that we can create any kind of investments. Okay, so we can have, for instance, this is the global budget, the overall budget, and we can split the budget by capability or by business unit or a mix and mode, or we can have here is called operational and strategic, meaning the non-discretional and the discretional budget. Okay, so it's very easy to create a new funding entity. And from here, we can see that, for instance, starting from the strategic budget that received 42 million here, the budget can fund, in this case, business units. And then each business unit, for instance, the business unit HR that received 14 million, this business unit will fund different things. We will fund the business services or portfolios. Okay. And what does it mean here? Does it mean that, for instance, the business unit may have received the budget top down, and then all this stuff at the lower level, so business services or portfolio, can request budget to the business unit. Same on the other side, we have the strategic budget, another business unit which is funding something different. The business unit IT is funding projects or funding teams. Okay, so it's very flexible to define what is a founding, what is founded, who is requesting founded, and so forth. And here we see, for instance, if we in a part of that hierarchy, we work in top down, we can allocate funds. So we start from the fact that we have 14 million here, and we can allocate the funds here by period to different entities. So for instance, here we are allocating budget to portfolios or to business services, okay, by quarter. On the other way around, if we need to manage a fund request, or a bottom-up request, we are here in a business unit and we are requesting budget, for instance, by part of the strategic budget, because we need to fund a new strategic initiative. Part of the budget is operational, because we need to keep the light on inside our business unit. But just to show you the flexibility that the system has, of course, it's not the reality, but we can even define that each single user could be a funding entity. So we can request even fund from single user. Just to let you know that the flexibility is extremely high. Okay. Once we have defined the budget, of course, we have our requests, so our demands, our projects, or any other type of investment. So we can use the portfolio planning workbench. I won't go in details because if you want to see all the details about portfolio planning workbench, you can see the episode 9 on YouTube. But basically, within the portfolio, we don't edit the target in the portfolio as is usually done if we don't use the investment funding. But in that case, the amount of the budget for this portfolio, which in case is 1 million for, is taken but from the portfolio investment funding entity. Okay, so where we define there, and we can request fund from the higher level entity and so forth. But in that case, we already have the budget, and we can define if you are over budget, which demand or which project to stop, to approve, and so forth, making even scenarios and what if analysis. So to finish, if you use investment funding in ServiceNow ITBM, you can manage budget that keeps the light on and supports strategic outcomes. So both the non-discretionary and discretionary budget. You can manage the budget in a mixed way. So it could be all top-down, all bottom-up, all in a mixed way. And you can even manage co-funding. So funding a business unit, a capability, a project by different funding entities. And finally, when you go to the execution layer, we support for project all the methodologies, so waterfall, agile, and hybrid. And agile even in the financial point of view. So we can fund not projects, but we can fund teams, epics, agile release trains, or any other agile topic.
Thank you, Fabio. Thank you very much for the overview. It was an excellent summary. As I said, investment funding, it was a top priority before, but today it has a very, very relevant aspect. If you feel curious and you want to know more, I'm going to give you 2 tips. Go to the communities. We have a bunch of information, different material content, deep dive demos in the product, podcasts and webinars, what is coming in the new releases. And second tip, go to YouTube channel. We have plenty of other episodes about ITBM ValueTalks. Go there, explore it, find information that you're looking for. So I hope that you enjoyed it. It was really fantastic. Thank you very much, Fabio. And saying all of that, I hope that we can meet again.